A dolphin in Florida was observed throwing a live fish repeatedly into the air, not to eat it, just to watch it struggle. A group of chimps in Senegal hunted down a rival chimp, held him down, and tore him apart while he screamed. An orca off the coast of New Zealand spent 45 minutes drowning a whale calf, while the mother watched, never eating it afterward. None of these animals were hungry, none of them were threatened. So the question isn't whether animals do terrible things to each other, they clearly do. The question is whether any of it means anything. The word evil only makes sense if the thing doing it knows it's doing wrong and does it anyway. If we apply that standard strictly, almost nothing in the animal kingdom qualifies. But that answer is also too easy. Because when you look closely at certain animal behaviors, the clean boundary between instinct and intention starts to blur in ways that are genuinely difficult to explain away. Chimpanzees are the most unsettling case. They share around 98.7% of our DNA, and they wage war. Not metaphorical war. Actual coordinated raids into rival territory. A landmark study in Gombe, Tanzania, documented what's now called the 4-year war, where one group of chimps systematically hunted and killed every adult male in a neighboring group over 4 years. They patrolled borders. They sent scouts. They ambushed individuals who were separated from the group. What makes this hard to dismiss is the coordination. These weren't random attacks driven by immediate threat or hunger. They were planned. Researchers observed chimps waiting silently for hours before attacking, retreating when outnumbered, and specifically targeting isolated individuals. The victims were held down by multiple attackers while others inflicted injuries. Stripped of the species, what you're describing sounds like an account of human warfare. Dolphins are often treated as proof that nature is good, intelligent, social, playful. The reality is more complicated. Male dolphins form coalitions and use them to coerce females into mating, corralling them, preventing escape, biting them when they try to leave. This has been documented extensively in Shark Bay, Australia. Biologists call it a reproductive strategy. What it looks like from the outside is something most people wouldn't describe in neutral language. Dolphins in several locations have also been observed killing harbor porpoises, not eating them, just killing them. Young porpoises found dead on Scottish beaches with internal injuries consistent with dolphin attacks became a recurring finding in the 1990s and 2000s. The best explanation is practice. Young males working out aggression on animals that can't fight back effectively. Orcas are among the most intelligent animals on Earth. With complex cultures passed down through generations, different pods have different dialects, different hunting techniques, different social rituals. Orca mothers have been documented carrying dead calves for weeks, sometimes over 1,000 miles, refusing to let them sink. That's grief. Or something close enough that the distinction feels academic, but the same animals toy with prey, tossing seals into the air, releasing them, letting them try to escape, catching them again for extended periods before finally killing them. They teach their young to do this. The California orca population that's been interacting with sailing vessels since 2020 has sunk dozens of boats, apparently spreading the behavior socially across the group. No one has been killed. The orcas aren't after the people. They're after the rudders. They seem to enjoy it. The scientific mainstream says this. Animals don't have morality, therefore they can't be evil. Therefore what we're observing is always instinct or learned behavior in service of evolutionary goals. That's the position. But a growing number of researchers think that's a philosophical assumption dressed up as a scientific conclusion. Frans de Waal spent decades documenting chimps seeking each other out after fights to groom and reconcile. He documented consolation behaviors in chimps and elephants, uninvolved individuals approaching and comforting a distressed animal with no obvious benefit to themselves. If animals are capable of something like empathy, something like reconciliation, something like grief, and the behavioral evidence suggests at minimum that some of them are, then the question of whether they're capable of the opposite becomes harder to dismiss. Mark Bekoff, a behavioral ecologist, has argued that some animals demonstrate moral emotions, functional states that shape social behavior in ways parallel to how morality functions in humans. Not identical, but not nothing. The behavior that causes the most trouble for the instinct-only explanation is what looks like sadism, killing that serves no purpose. Domestic cats catch prey and play with it for extended periods, causing prolonged suffering with no nutritional payoff. The usual explanation is that well-fed domestic cats have a hunting instinct decoupled from hunger, instinct running without purpose. But it's not only domestic cats. Wild chimps have been observed torturing small animals, holding them, biting them, dropping them, picking them up again, in ways observers describe as playful, but that look indistinguishable from deliberate cruelty. Slave maker ants raid and destroy other colonies even when they don't need more workers. Spotted hyenas in some populations torment prey in ways that go substantially beyond anything required to subdue the animal. There's a version of this question that flips back onto us. When we ask whether animal behavior is evil, we're really asking whether animals are enough like us that our moral categories apply to them. But the behaviors we've been describing, coordinated group violence against outsiders, coercion of mates, killing without need, apparent enjoyment of another creature's distress, these aren't things that exist only in animals. Humans do all of them. The difference is that when humans do them, we say something went wrong. When animals do them, we say nothing went wrong. It's just nature. That asymmetry is worth noticing. We extend ourselves the benefit of moral vocabulary and animals the protection of being below it. Whether that's accurate or self-serving is a question without a clean answer. What's clear is that the boundary between the kind of creature that can be evil and the kind that can't isn't drawn by intelligence, social complexity, or the capacity for something like emotion. Those things exist on a spectrum that runs through the animal kingdom in ways that are increasingly difficult to ignore. The most honest answer is, it depends entirely on what you mean by evil, and there's no version of the question that produces a comfortable answer. If evil requires moral awareness, most animals probably can't be evil, and the things they do to each other are just the world being the world. If evil is defined by the act, deliberate suffering beyond what any purpose requires, then some animals fit the description with disturbing regularity. And if you define evil as a capacity that emerges from sufficient complexity, sufficient social awareness, sufficient ability to model the inner states of others, then the chimpanzee conducting a border patrol, the orca teaching its calf to toy with a seal, the dolphin coalition corralling a female who doesn't want to be there, those start to look less like nature running its code and more like something that shares a common ancestor with the worst of what we do. Not the same thing, but related in ways that should probably make us think twice before using the animal kingdom as an argument that nature is innocent. See you in the next one.